Hello, good evening, Tuesday evening. How are you today? Welcome. Thank you so much for stopping in. I'm Nichelle with 2Excel with Nichelle.com. I bring you information, inspiration, and motivation to help you start, market, and grow into the CEO of you. I do that by helping you identify your weaknesses, maximizing your strengths, to seek out opportunities so that you can profit from them, and then to devour those threats because we know that threats are consistently around us to stifle us from our next level towards success. If you like what you're hearing and you are not connected with me, please do not hesitate to touch that little do. If you like positive inspiration and motivation on a daily basis, on a consistent basis, I'm on Instagram and I am on Twitter. To all my replay viewers, thanks again for coming in and tapping the screen. Greatly appreciate you doing that. To all the new people that are here to my broadcasts, if this is your first time here, welcome and thank you for being a part of my space. I personally have been a business owner for 25 years. I've been an entrepreneur for a little over 20, and I have MBA, BA, working on a PhD now, mental health specialty, several licenses, real estate insurance, all of that kind of stuff. So I've been in the game a while, and I've worked in corporate America as a pharmaceutical sales manager. I've worked in the mortgage industry, just different industries in real estate, consulting, home health, all of those areas. So I really am excited to share information with new entrepreneurs to help them figure out a path for them to take in that aspect, or even if you're in a corporate environment. As I say all the time, never quit your job until you have enough income. And I'm like tripling it. That's what I'm talking about. Some people say double it. I say triple it. Reason why? Because you never know what may happen. Even in entrepreneurship, sometimes funds get low. And if you don't have anywhere to go, then it's kind of difficult to just jump back up and get in the workforce, especially when you've been out for quite some time. However, you can take the skills of an entrepreneur, put that on your resume, and let people know that I didn't just sit on my butt. I was out here running things as an entrepreneur. And so it's really valuable for you to develop skills on both sides, the corporate as well as the entrepreneurial, because that makes you diverse. And my consulting company, Diversify Connections Consulting, we specifically work with diverse individuals to help them to identify their strengths, as I mentioned to you earlier, and to maximize opportunities for them so that they can build what they've learned in organizations, for-profit, nonprofit, as well as in corporate and entrepreneurship. So today I'm going to share with you several aspects because this has been brought up to my attention from students. I teach online, and I have students that consult with me on a regular basis of startup businesses, and they're sometimes kind of confused whether to start a for-profit or a nonprofit. I know when I taught at a brick and mortar in the classroom, college level, a lot of students, they wanted to do that because they thought that they would get rich starting a nonprofit. And so I wanted to kind of dispel the myths of both sides because there are advantages to both. It just depends on what your objectives are in starting that type of business. And so about several weeks ago, I did a class on profits, grants that you can get as a nonprofit. There are several grants out there that are specifically for women entrepreneurs, and I did that class about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The link is in my bio if you want to go up there and click on that. I think is nonprofit entities that you can start. So it's in the bio up there, so if you want to check in there, I think it's like five grants for nonprofits for women. I think it's something like that. But check the link in my bio. You'll be able to see it up there. And so let's go ahead and get started and discuss nonprofit versus profit to see which one falls in your idea, your scheme of doing business. Both of them, as I mentioned to you, are very good things to be in because on the for-profit side, the mindset of a person going into a for-profit business is that they obviously want to earn a profit. That's the focus of it, of the business, profitability. Whereas with a nonprofit, they're more socially inclined to think of what can I do to help people. That is the goal of the nonprofit. Not profit like it is for profit. So when you're talking about nonprofit, to decipher to which one you want to do, you need to literally think about the purpose. Thank you so much for that love. I greatly appreciate you. you really want to think about the purpose of why you are going into business. Okay, anytime you start in any type of business, bottom line, purpose should be the focus of what it is you're doing. But in a nonprofit, that purpose is derived around the social aspects of the business. In a for profit, is literally driven about providing solutions to problems. Now, both entities are solution providers to problems. However, for profits are looking for an end result, whereas a nonprofit is looking for a consistent, systemic, doable action that people can be driven to and come to in time of need. Whereas a for-profit isn't. I mean, if you can't afford the services or products, then that company won't give them to you. Whereas if you at a nonprofit, if you can't afford it, there's either a discount, a sliding scale, or something to help people that can't afford the services in order to get it. So if you're deciding which one to go to, again, you go back to your purpose. Why are you starting this business? What is the fundamental idea of you being in business as a for-profit or nonprofit? So then we talk about mission, goals, objectives, and strategies. They're totally different for two different businesses, and you literally have to be specific for each business. If you decide to do one or the other, you need to be specific, because if you are not, one, you're not going to be literally driven as far as funding for a nonprofit, and then for the for-profit, you're literally not going to be able to get the business that you expect and desire. Thank you. Greatly appreciate that. So purpose. The bottom line is, are you going to be social, or are you looking to be more on the profit aspect? And really, it's not a hard decision. People start nonprofits for the simple reason of the desire to help. And I mentioned yesterday, you can have a for-profit and a nonprofit in one entity. They just have to be separated, because most small businesses, most corporations have a for-profit sector and a nonprofit sector, because they're socially inclined. The entrepreneurial aspect, they're socially inclined. But you, as a small business owner, you really have to have a divisive plan in place, because if you don't, then you'll get in a lot of trouble. Because as a small business owner, you don't have the backing of a large corporation like accountants, attorneys, and all of that. The government does not play when it comes to nonprofits. That's why you see most people either, because they pay attention to how much money you got coming in, how much is going out. Whereas a for-profit, you don't necessarily see that scrutiny unless something happened where there's been, the CEO got in trouble for taking the money or whatever. In a nonprofit, it's going to be very clear, because they scrutinize it from day one of inception, while you're filing your taxes and everything in between. Who you have there working for you, even the volunteers. That's another aspect. A for-profit is going to have employees. A nonprofit is going to have mostly volunteers. And if they have employees, they're not going to be your highest paid employees. So that's something you have to think about as well. Can you afford to run an operation without employees, pay them something, and then get volunteers as well? Majority of when I've been associated with nonprofits, I've worked for two in my career, and it was on a part-time basis because they could not afford to hire full-time staff. So I started I actually worked for Junior Achievement. That was one of my greatest. I really loved that job, but they couldn't hire me for full-time for the simple reason they didn't have the money to do it. So they hired me as a part-time account executive to go out to secure schools to get fundraising, to do fundraising projects for the Junior Achievement Program. But the bottom line is, the goals. What is it that you want as an entrepreneur? Because you can be a social entrepreneur and you can be a for-profit entrepreneur. And literally, you have to decide which one you want to do so that you can be successful in that endeavor. Bottom line. Then we talk about culture. There's two different cultures in those type of business frames. In a for-profit entity, the culture sometimes can be very divisive. It can be mean. It can be frustrating for the workers, the staff, the management, and all of that. And it can be the same in a nonprofit. However, they're a little bit more driven towards the sanctity of you as an employee versus a corporate setting. I remember working in our nonprofit. And even being a nonprofit myself, I had several of them, but it didn't fit into my business practice. So I dissolved them for that simple reason. For the simple fact that I've always been an entrepreneur, and I like to do what I like to do in my business. I don't want to be driven by the government telling me I have to run and operate. However, again, you need to decide if that entity is good, what value is it going to have to your business. So in our nonprofit, when I work with them, and then even on my side working with senior citizens in nonprofit entity and children, um, they will always be concerned about our mental health, especially if we're going out there helping people who are already in mental health issues or concerns. They were always concerned about that. So they will give you time off, obviously no pay, things of that nature, but they were really concerned about what they can do to help you along the process. And so the difference of those two, some people like that, some people don't. Me personally, I think it's good. And I actually think corporate America should do something like that. I know within my organizations that I work in and work with, they give you mental health days. I make sure that the people that work with me, that if they need time away, they can have them, because how can you help somebody else when you're not together? And so really you have to look at the essence of the culture, the atmosphere, the social perspectives, and the visual focus if you are going to become one or the other, a nonprofit or a for-profit. Literally understanding your employees, knowing what they need, want, and desire, and if you're able to give that to them. More people get laid off, fired, and things, to be honest, from a nonprofit versus a for-profit, because nonprofits don't have the money to keep going like a for-profit would. And so sometimes they don't have that staff. And so that's another thing you need to keep in mind. Then the control factor. Let's talk about control. A for-profit, you got absolute control. Nonprofit, you have a board of directors that can consist of anywhere from 20 to 100 members on that board of directors. And if they don't like something that you're doing, they will solve it. They will solve it. And the 501c3 really is what guides the nonprofit, because that's where the money comes in, the tax deductions and all of that. Whereas a for-profit, they're profit driven again. And so the money that they get in, if they're losing money, that's where you see the difference in the organizations, because they can't necessarily go out there and ask for money like a nonprofit can. And so profit, for profit, both of them are great entities, but both of them have different roles in the production of success. And I mentioned to you about the volunteers. It's very difficult to attract volunteers. Back in the day, it didn't used to be. But I know even within my own nonprofits that I've had, it was always difficult. Even like stay-at-home moms. I mean, it was so difficult to get volunteers because of the time consumption. And then they wouldn't get paid. People want money. They need their money. And so sometimes it was difficult to attract that. Even when I was working in a nonprofit setting, it was so difficult to get volunteers, because the majority of the people that we need or that can help us in the volunteering phase, they had jobs. And so literally think about that when you're going to start one versus the other. Do you have the mental capacity? Do you have the financial capacity? Do you have the wherewithal, the staff, the tolerance, and all of that to do it in a nonprofit if it's just you? If you don't get the funding, if you don't get the staff, the people to come in and help you, versus a for-profit, typically you're out there grinding, you're out there making it happen, and money can come in based upon you selling a product, a service, or anything of that nature, versus a nonprofit. And so I like both of them because, again, going back to the for-profit, you're talking about they look at key performance indicators, KPI, whereas, again, going back to the nonprofit, profits are really not a key motivator, and so they don't really stress that. But a nonprofit cannot exist without profits. And so that's something you need to think about too, because plenty of nonprofits close down because they don't have the consistent funding. Whereas, again, a for-profit, they can go sell a product, raise the prices on it, acquire more products and services so that they have a consistent funnel of income. But bottom line, me personally, in a business entity, I would add both the social component so that you can give back the social entrepreneurship, because I think every corporation, a large corporation specifically, and most of the ones that I've worked for have always had that component of social gratitude and social giving on the side, which really emphasize their purpose for being in business. And again, you can go check the link in my bio, because I gave you some 5 sources of getting funding for nonprofits, and it was specifically for women in nonprofits. But again, when I'm consulting clients, talking to students about entrepreneurship, and majority come to me and say they want to open a nonprofit, I have to literally be clear and let them know nonprofit typically are much harder to run and operate because of those certain specifics, government involvement, and all of that. You got to keep your books clear. You got to keep them consistent. You got to keep them up to date, because if you do not, what you will find is that you will be in much more trouble than not, versus a for-profit where literally the CEO, you, whoever's in charge, accountant, is in charge of the profitability of that organization. So that is my message for you today. Talking about the nonprofit too, just to cap on this a little bit here. A nonprofit has limited liability with the assets if the court system had to come get them and seize some things, shut it down or whatnot. The members are not really at a risk versus those of a corporation. Now, it depends on what type of corporation you start, but a typical corporation has more financial risk to the owners versus a non-for-profit organization. They typically are at less risk from creditors, from lawsuits and things of that nature versus a for-profit entity. And again, it goes back to which type of entity you're going to start in an organization. Corporations are what I'm talking about, the big corporations. Those ones, they have much more greater risk versus a nonprofit. And so that is my message for you today, because as I mentioned, in working with students, all of them come to me telling me all the time, I want to start a nonprofit. And when I ask them, why are you interested in starting a nonprofit? Because they think that they're easier. They think that you can get rich starting a nonprofit. There are some people that do well within the nonprofit industry. Do churches count as nonprofit? Yes. Yes, they do. I'm going to be very nice when I say this, because I am a church going girl. Nonprofit for churches, they profit very well, and I'm sure you know that. But churches are a nonprofit, but they literally, if you look at the money that they bring in, they literally can be classified as a for-profit too. And the only reason I think they get away with that status is for the simple fact that that they help a lot of people. They have a lot of social impact behind them. So I think that's literally the main reason that they get away with the status of nonprofit, 501c3 and all of that. But when you look at all the income they bring in, clearly, they can be a for-profit entity. That's my personal thought. And I'm a church girl. Yes, I love me some Jesus. Church is in me. I'm the church. But that is it. Yeah, so thank you for that question. Greatly appreciate that. Yes. So a lot of people, because I know I have ministers. I had a minister come to me probably about 3 weeks ago, and I was kind of baffled with this comment. They were like, I want to get into ministry so I can become rich. And I'm like, Lord Jesus Christ, in the name of Jesus. They want to get into ministry so they can become rich. Yeah, I was blown away. I've never had or heard of somebody saying that. So to be honest with you, as a child of Christ, as a child of God, when they said that, I said, your purpose ain't right. So for one, that ain't gonna be blessed. And it was already a scam for them coming to somebody saying that. And I thought they were joking, but they were straight faced. They were straight faced. Exactly. They had a straight face with it and saying that. So, I had the choice of working with them, and I prayed on that, because the first message when they said that, I was like, no, I ain't getting myself in trouble like that. But I prayed on it, and I just went back to him and told him, because I actually had worked with this person a long time ago in some other stuff that we were doing. We actually did a program together, a big program, community program, and they were very, very good. I mean, ethical. So, but when they told me they were going into ministry for that just totally took me for a loop. So be careful who you get into business with. Be careful who you do programs with. But they did the program fine. It came out fine. No issues or whatnot. But this next level that they're trying to go in, I don't know. Again, that wasn't of God, and so I chose not to be a participant and help them in that plan. They could do that by themselves or go to somebody else, because I like my blessings. Bless God. I love my blessings, and I thank you, Jesus, every day. And as long as I can, my integrity, my ethics, my goals, my objectives, my culture is to be of righteousness at all times. Yes, right. So that is my message. If you are not connected with me and you like what you heard, feel free to touch the little dude. I typically come on. Life happens to me a lot because I'm currently a doctoral student. So this evening I've been sitting in my computer all day trying to get my dissertation so it can get approved. So that's what I've been working on. So my scheduled time is 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Thursday. However, life happened today and I wasn't able to come on. But I did make the commitment every day, Monday through Thursday, to come on. Sometime I come on through the day between 3 and 5. It just depends on how my day goes. If I'm not with any clients or if it's slow or something like that, then I'll be able to come on and give you some inspiration, because I truly believe in business. We need to be inspired. We need to be motivated. And then we need to have the information, which I'm providing for you now, to help push us to that next level. I typically give you information, inspiration, and motivation so that you can come out of your comfort zone, whatever your goals or objectives are in life, that you can reach them and that you can profit from them. Thank you so much. I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see, is it first phases? What is your name? I really love to address people by their name. And sometimes it's kind of hard because it's like really little on my phone. Really little. So I'm trying to see as much as I can. Yes. And I also have a podcast. It's the People Connect podcast. Feel free to download that on iTunes, Google, and iHeartRadio. I also have a lot of freebies in my bio. Up top, you can check my bio out up top. Lots of freebies. I'm on Instagram at Nisha Womack and on Twitter, and the link is in my bio on Instagram as well, with a lot of freebies, free stuff right now. Yes, that I am giving away because I want you to be inspired, motivated, encouraged, and uplifted so that you can move to that next level. So thank you so much. Blessings and peace unto you. May everything that you touch, may it turn to gold. I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow, either between 3 and 5 or between 7:30 and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Talk to you soon. Take care. Thanks for stopping in and delivering those hearts. Blessings and peace unto you. Bye-bye.